你哋如果有咩唔清楚嘅嘢，隨時問我哋，我哋都會答翻你哋嘅。OK，我哋之前喺舊年10月到11月嗰陣時，我哋有個一個公眾嘅諮詢嘅大會嘅階段，咁問咗好多嘅意見，亦都得到好踴躍嘅回應。咁我首先呢度就同各位簡略咁講一講，我哋收到幾多嘅意見左右啦嚇。咁喺10月啦到11月30號2個月，差唔多2個月嘅時間裏邊咧，我哋有進行過公眾諮詢啦，俾嗰啲有啲意見書俾你哋各位啦嘅，好多亦都有各自嘅意見提供翻俾我哋啦。咁我哋都收到幾踴躍嘅回應。咁我哋收到超過2700份嘅意見書啦，咁當中咧絕大部分嘅意見咧都真係覺得係漁署係應該修訂呢個公眾衞生動物禽鳥動物售賣商規例139B 章呢個法例㗎啦，因為覺得而家嘅營業嘅情形同埋我哋法例所規定嘅有少少落差啦，咁希望真係盡快可以修訂，咁以迎合真係社會上由業界到愛護動物團體嘅人士嘅要求啦。呢方面我哋都回應到各位嘅要求，我哋亦都有呢個知道需要修訂啦。咁其中只有極少數嘅意見認為冇需要修改而家嘅法例嘅。咁用翻我哋所提供嘅表格作回覆意見書裏邊咧，大部分都支持我哋即係呢啲從事繁殖同埋售賣狗隻嘅人士都需要接受政府嘅規管啦。而喺將來每一宗狗隻買賣或者推銷嘅時候咧，從事唔同嘅渠道啦，包括你報紙賣又好，上網賣又好，其他雜誌刊登嘅好，都需要申報佢哋嘅牌照 number 啦。同埋亦都，如果佢哋有過往嘅營業方面或者過往嘅曾經觸犯過我哋香港法例169章，即係防止虐待動物嘅條例嘅時候咧，我哋可以有權撤銷佢售賣商嘅牌照嘅。咁亦都有超過半數嘅意見咧，認為真係我哋呢個新修訂建議嘅罰款，非法售賣動物嘅罰款調高到10萬蚊，同埋違反呢啲發牌條件罰款到5萬蚊係足夠嘅。咁當然亦都我哋收到好多其他嘅意見，建議我哋甚至提高個罰款去到監禁嘅程度都有，我哋呢方面嘅意見都有收到。而從各個收到嘅各類型意見書當中咧，有部分嘅意見咧就反對我哋設立甲類嘅動物繁殖者嘅牌照，咁仲有少部分咧亦都係反對我哋單次動物出售許可證嘅建議嘅。咁最主要反對嘅原因，佢哋擔心我哋政府就難以監管將來嘅一啲營業者嘅行為啦，咁亦都可能會鼓勵到更多人從事呢個動物繁殖同埋出售佢哋自己嘅寵物嘅行為出現嘅。咁呢方面我哋亦都知道嘅。咁大部分咧嘅表達咗意見嘅嗰啲動物福利機構同埋政黨都要求個漁護署署長長遠咧嚟講咧，要將個修例嘅範圍覆蓋埋貓隻同埋其他嘅動物。咁佢哋亦都希望可以將來從事動物相關行業嘅人咧，需要接受適當嘅培訓同埋通過一啲嘅資格嘅考試嘅。咁以上就係所講嘅上次諮詢大會嘅最基本嘅一啲情形啦。咁我哋嚟緊就會成個諮詢報告，包括埋呢一次喺營業守則方面嘅諮詢咧，我哋應該會係4月中到會有一次上立法會，到時候我哋會作一個總結嘅彙報俾翻立法會議員同埋公眾嘅。好，咁之後我哋就講翻我哋 建議中嘅一啲。我哋4個牌照裏邊，我哋第一個係甲類嘅動物繁殖者嘅牌照咧，我哋將來亦都會規定，即係喺屋企裏邊啦，即係包括佢哋飼養4隻或者以下嘅母狗嘅條件啦。咁我哋會要求佢哋嘅處所要有充足嘅空間啦，每日亦都要按需要嚟進行清潔啦，保持維修嘅良好啦。咁同埋最緊要我哋有個面積嘅要求啊，所有嘅面積對佢哋所要求嘅面積咧，就會用實用面積嚟計算嘅。咁小型嘅狗隻嘅話咧，佢每一隻嘅狗我哋會要求佢有100平方尺嘅面積，即係9.29平方米。中型嘅狗隻咧，40到60厘米嘅身高肩膀高度咧，我哋就會佢要求每一隻有180平方尺嘅面積要求。咁至於大型狗隻嘅話咧，就需要到250平方尺嘅面積。咁話之講，即係如果你有4隻細狗嘅話咧，咁至少都要母狗啊，至少都要400尺啦。咁如果你有大型嘅狗隻，咁就4隻嘅話，咁就要差1000尺嘅面積啦。咁另外我哋亦都會將你喺個處所裏邊你自己養嘅其他狗隻，包括公狗或者其他閹咗嘅狗，我哋都會將佢計算落去嘅。即係譬如話你有4隻母狗，但係仲有1隻公狗咁嘅話咧，咁就要計5隻狗嘅size 㗎啦。但係5隻狗嘅 size 咁啊，當然其中係得4隻係母狗啦。咁其他嘅狗隻嘅面積我哋都會要計埋去嘅。你如果養譬如話6隻細狗仔嘅話，我哋會要求你有600平方尺嘅面積。再有自己另外仲有2隻寵物閹咗嘅，咁嗰2隻亦都要計多佢相關嘅睇佢嘅 size 大細嘅相關面積嘅。咁而處所裏邊嘅生產哺乳嘅範圍啦，即係有生產嘅哺乳嘅情形之下咧，亦都要同其他狗隻分隔開啦。咁哺乳箱裏邊咧，亦都要鋪上乾淨嘅墊料啦，而且每日要更換啦。咁場內裏邊嘅通風設備亦都要有啦。咁按情形同埋天氣嘅情形啦，需要適當嘅加熱或者降溫啦，等個室溫可以保持喺合理嘅範圍裏邊。亦都如果相對濕度高嘅話，亦都加強通風或者係抽濕嘅。咁另外狗隻亦都唔應該長時間暴露喺陽光之下啦，夜晚亦都要熄燈啦。咁就狗隻每日亦都至少有1個鐘頭嘅活動時間嘅。呢個係我哋嘅規定。咁另外嗰啲俾狗食嘢嘅狗兜啊，裝水嘅水兜啊，其他玩樂嘅物品亦都需要每日清潔。咁另外繁殖者亦都要有能夠識別狗隻患病嘅症狀啦，為狗隻探驗啦。咁對相關飼養嘅品種嘅基本特徵嘅需要嘅都要有所認識嘅。咁另外狗隻如果有交配或者準備生產嘅時候，亦都要同其他嘅狗隻要隔離分開啦，有專人嘅監察啦，唔可以用唔人道嘅方法強迫狗隻進行交配啦。咁另外狗隻亦都要我哋要求佢係介乎喺18個月到6歲大之間先可以生產，同埋亦都要進入第2次發情期先至可以從事生產嘅活動嘅。咁另外母狗我哋會要求佢喺2年裏邊唔可以生產超過3胎嘅狗仔，而終身咧就唔可以生產多過6胎。咁狗隻當然咧亦都需要註冊獸醫嚟打晶片啦，用嚟識別啦。咁所有狗隻亦都要喺公出售之前唔超過30日接受獸醫嘅檢驗啦。咁亦都需要由獸醫注射相關嘅疫苗啦，嚟預防狗瘟啊、病毒性腸炎啊同埋傳染性肝炎嘅等嘅疾病嘅。 咁狗隻嘅資料亦都要包括即係晶片嘅號碼啦，用過咩疫苗啦，即係相關父母嘅資料啦，嗰啲亦都要必須要記錄嘅。另外，如果用作繁殖嘅狗隻喺使用期之後退休嘅時候咧，亦都要安排適當嘅領養或者進行絕育嘅。咁另外之後就講到嗰啲對乙類動物繁殖者嘅要求啦，即係嗰啲大型飼養5隻或者以上狗隻嗰啲處所，我哋對佢哋嘅要求。咁同樣啦，佢嘅處所亦都要確保狗隻嘅健康啦，同埋為佢福祉而設計嘅，就可以避免傳染病嘅傳播啦。咁亦都要保護隻狗唔好受到風雨嘅影響啦，咁又都要有防治蟲鼠嘅措施嘅。咁我哋又唔會接受你有多層式嘅架構嘅，你唔可以籠搭籠嘅，你一定要一層嘅啫啊。咁而用其他好似運狗嗰陣時付運狗隻嗰陣時所要使用嗰啲狗籠咧，我哋亦都唔可以接受攞嚟當做一個狗籠嘅。咁基本維護即係狗籠嘅裏邊咧，每日亦都要進行清潔啦、消毒啦、保持維修良好啦。咁亦同一個範圍裏邊咧，淨係準飼養體型即係相同嘅狗隻嘅。咁每隻狗應該有一個獨立嘅休息空範圍啦，同埋有一個獨立嘅活動範圍嘅。或者係一個獨立嘅休息範圍同一個共用嘅活動範圍啦。每一個單位裏邊嘅活動範圍喺同一個時間咧，淨係俾狗一隻使用。不過喺唔同嘅狗隻可以喺唔同嘅時段裏邊使用相同嘅活動範圍啦。而每隻狗每日都應該有唔少於1個鐘頭嘅運動嘅時間。咁至於個 size 個獨立休息範圍嘅要求同活動範圍嘅要求咧，就睇下一頁啦。咁我哋同樣要對小型狗隻佢獨立休息嘅範圍嘅 size 嘅要求咧，就細狗隻咧就每一隻就唔少於1.1個平方米啊。咁亦都長度闊度都有唔可以少過0.9個米啊。咁中型嘅狗隻咧就唔少於2.4個平方米。大型嘅狗隻咧就唔少於3.5個平方米，咁亦成個圍封物嘅高度咧最少係要求係個狗隻身高嘅2倍以上。咁呢一個係講緊個獨立嘅休息嘅範圍，而佢活動嘅範圍咧就一個共用嘅空間咧，小型狗隻就唔少於7.4個平方米，而中型嘅狗隻咧少於11個平方米，大型嘅狗隻咧就唔少於14.8個平方米，差唔多係85尺左右嘅範圍。咁另外亦都係啦，生產同哺乳嘅範圍嗰度幾時無論視線或者實際上都應該遠離其他繁殖場裏邊嘅狗隻啦。咁哺乳箱裏邊需要鋪上乾淨嘅墊料咧，而且每日都需要更換嘅。咁年齡少於5個月或者未斷奶嘅狗仔咧，必須放喺提供足夠空間嘅基本範圍裏邊啦。個範圍就係佢身長嘅3倍乘佢嘅2倍。咁另外場內亦都好似頭先咁甲類嘅要求啦，有適當嘅通風設備啦，就可以為佢加熱或者降溫啦。咁亦都要極端嘅溫度，亦都需要有採取措施咧，等佢溫度回復翻到適合嘅範圍啦。濕度高嘅日子，亦都要加強通風或者抽濕啦。咁另外亦都係建議佢哋嘅氨氣嘅濃度唔可以過高啦。咁地台亦都每日應該有8個鐘頭嘅照明啦，夜晚亦都需要關燈嘅。咁狗隻就唔應該長時間直接暴露喺陽光之下啦。咁如果有確診到或者懷疑有傳染病嘅狗隻，亦都要提供一個隔離嘅範圍俾佢哋。 咁另外當然啦，你個建築物架構亦都要按有關相關法例設定適當嘅滅火裝備啦，電力嘅裝備都定期檢查啦，水管亦都要消毒嘅清潔啦，咁另外每日都要清潔你嘅圍封物啦，狗兜啦、水兜啦，同埋玩嘅玩具啦，亦都要清潔嘅。咁另外繁殖場我哋亦都需要佢保留以下記錄嘅，即係你餵飼嘅時間啦、食物嘅種類啦，咁另外你活動嘅時間啦，如果有任何設施停止運作嘅時候，或者其他有咩重大嘅事故嘅異常嘅時候，亦都要保留相關嘅記錄。咁另外我哋亦會要求嗰啲員工咧需要接受培訓啦，要達到我哋滿意嘅程度嘅。咁另外員工亦都要有能夠識別狗隻患病嘅症狀啦，或者同埋狗隻探熱嘅技術啦，咁對相關飼養品種嘅基本特徵嘅佢哋嘅個別嘅需要亦都要有認識嘅。咁另外同樣係啦，狗隻交配或者準備生產嘅時候，咁必須要同場內其他狗隻隔離啦，而且有指定嘅人員嚟監察。就唔可以用唔人道嘅方法強迫佢哋進行交配嘅。另外亦都係母狗，我哋淨係接受喺介乎18個月，即係第二次發情期之後，至到6歲呢個期間裏邊先可以生產啦。而且每隻母狗喺2年裏邊唔可以生產超過3胎啦。終身就唔可以生產多過6胎嘅。咁亦都係狗隻需要由獸醫植入晶片啦，嚟識別佢哋啦。咁就狗隻喺出售之前唔超過30日，接受個獸醫嘅檢驗，亦都要由獸醫注射相關要預防疾病嘅疫苗嘅。咁另外狗隻嗰啲資料、晶片號碼用過嘅疫苗服務嘅資料，亦都要記錄。另外就係用作繁殖嘅狗隻喺使用期之後同埋退休嘅時候咧，一定要安排適當嘅領養同埋或者進行絕育嘅手術嘅。咁每個繁殖商亦都要確保有一個獸醫服務商可以隨時提供診治嘅服務啦。咁另外亦都要每日去檢查佢哋場內邊嘅狗隻有冇健康欠佳嘅症狀，肚餓嘔食慾不振呢啲咁嘅症狀嘅。咁如果懷疑有受傷或者患病嘅狗咧，亦都需要24個小時內由送俾獸醫作檢驗嘅。Yes。
呢個 requirement 咧係每個 breeder 佢哋要有一個嘅 service 咧。咁每日嘅檢查咧係一個 vet 嘅檢查定係個 breeder 自己檢查？係需要有 vet
佢哋每日都會由佢哋自己嘅員工或者佢哋嘅從。
即係唔需要由 vet 去。
當然唔需要啦。每日嗰個唔需要獸醫。
咁我哋點樣可以知道嗰個記錄係真有幾真？
我哋會有人作即係我哋對乙類嘅，我哋每個月都會有巡查嘅，有睇緊佢哋嘅所有嘅一切嘅記錄嘅一切嘅情況嘅。OK。咁另外我哋亦都會要求啦，佢哋狗隻每日有唔少於1個鐘頭嘅活動時間啦。咁佢喺佢共用嘅活動範圍裏邊進行呢啲活動啦。咁亦都要避免，如果有狗隻有傳染病嘅時候咧，亦都要避免呢個混雜啦。咁除咗未戒奶嘅幼犬之外，所有喺持牌處所裏邊嘅狗隻都需要由獸醫注射咗疫苗嘅。咁即係講到動物售賣商啦，咁我哋亦都會要求動物售賣商嗰方面咧，喺狗隻安置喺合適嘅基本圍封物裏邊啦，即係唔可以俾佢喺處所裏邊隨處棲留嘅，即係嗰啲所有嘅 pet shop 裏邊咁另外亦都唔可以用付運狗隻時候用嗰啲狗籠作為一個基本嘅圍封物俾佢哋喺裏邊。咁圍封物嘅長度同闊度 我哋都會有要求為狗隻身長嘅3倍同埋2倍，高度咧就係狗隻身高嘅2倍嘅。咁你喺個 pet shop 裏邊咧，個室內溫度應該保持喺合理嘅範圍裏邊啦。咁地台每日亦都有8個鐘頭嘅照明。咁另外當然啦，所有嘅處所裏邊亦都要按相關法例設置適當嘅滅火裝置啦。咁佢嘅電力系統亦都要定期嘅檢查，水管亦都要清潔啊消毒啦。咁每日亦都要清潔相關嘅嗰啲狗籠啦，同埋嗰啲糧兜同水兜啦，同埋玩嘅玩具嘅。咁如果個持牌嘅處所，即係個 pet shop 嗰度裏邊有啲狗隻美容區嘅，咁咧我哋就會要求佢哋唔可以將出售嗰啲狗隻係養喺個美容區裏邊嘅。咁另外亦都唔可以俾啲狗隻留喺個美容區嗰啲個狗籠裏邊超過12個鐘頭，或者直頭喺鋪頭裏邊留宿嘅。咁另外接受狗隻美容嘅服務嗰啲狗隻，即係客人交嚟嘅要剪毛嘅狗隻，亦都唔可以安置佢喺作為售賣狗隻專用嗰個 display 嗰個狗籠裏邊嘅。咁對動物售賣商，我哋亦都會要求將來佢哋員工要接受培訓啦，達到我哋滿意嘅程度嘅。咁員工亦都要能夠識別狗隻患病嗰時候嘅症狀啦，同埋為啲狗隻嚟探驗，對相關即係出售嘅品種基本嘅特徵嘅需要嘅都要有所認識嘅。另外狗隻亦都需要註冊獸醫植入啲晶片嚟識別啦。咁狗隻喺供出售之前唔超過30日就接受獸醫嘅檢驗。咁亦都係每個售賣商啦，亦都要確保有一個獸醫服務供應商俾佢哋提供診治嘅服務嘅。咁亦都要每日都要檢查嗰啲狗隻係咪有健康欠佳嘅情形啦。同埋如果有受傷或者患病狗隻，需要24小時內要送去獸醫度作檢驗嘅。好，另外呢次我哋亦都有個單次動物出售許可證嘅要求嘅。咁我哋係如果申請呢個單次動物出售許可證嘅話咧，我哋要求嗰啲申請人一定係要個出售嗰個狗隻個狗牌持有人嘅。咁啊，同埋佢持有嗰個牌照咧，連續唔少於4個月嘅。另外，如果佢諗住出售嘅狗隻喺申請之前唔少於14日，需要由獸醫接種有效嘅防疫疫苗啦。咁另外我哋亦都會規定佢喺10年裏邊，如果申請用呢個單次動物出售許可證嘅話咧，最多只可以申請3次，即係每張證就1隻狗嘅，就10年裏邊最多可以出售3隻狗嘅。咁另外為咗配合呢個新嘅呢啲牌照嘅規定咧，我哋亦都會推行一個 DNA 嘅親子嘅鑑定嘅。所有嗰啲種犬，即係包括甲類牌照、乙類牌照嗰啲人，佢哋啲隻母狗同埋佢哋所生產嘅幼犬咧，都需要俾我哋抽取 DNA 嘅樣本，而且我哋會按需要進行呢個 DNA 嘅親子嘅鑑定。咁佢哋要俾我哋攞咗呢個 DNA 樣本之後，我哋俾翻張證明佢，之後佢哋先可以出售佢嗰啲幼犬嘅。咁所有嘅 DNA 嘅樣本嘅抽取同埋以後嘅化驗嘅工作，都會係由政府人員嚟執行。
唔好意思啊，我想問下呢一點。
好，
你話 DNA 嘅抽查咧係一個樣本嘅形式去抽啊嘛，即係唔係話所有佢養嘅狗你都會抽噶嘛？你抽唔晒咁多㗎。
所有
你個樣本係咩意思啊？
哦，我哋係會佢即係譬如舉個例子 A 牌咁啦，佢嗰4隻母犬我哋會抽，另外佢嗰4隻母犬所 生出嚟嘅狗仔，我哋全部都會抽，係
佢
全部
收綠
都會抽。
豆咁嘅綠豆嗰啲狗仔，全部都要
係抽
經過
過
你哋抽
攞過我哋樣
DNA 去
係
match
啦
過，
冇錯，
每一隻
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 月牌都係，
呢排咧，
月牌都係
唔係 random sampling。
唔係啊？
我諗佢哋誤會咗你意思，呢個係抽就照抽，你做唔做 test 咧就唔係隻隻做嘅。
係冇錯。其實個關鍵咧，我覺得呢度講多啲講多少啫。個關鍵我哋係會喺佢俾我哋抽嘅時候，我哋要佢簽翻份嘢，證明嗰啲狗仔同埋嗰啲狗係佢真係同一個父母相關嘅一竇嚟嘅，就唔係話外邊攞入嚟
咁頭先
嚟
明白
聽我講埋先啊，
明白
唔好意思，聽我佢唔係佢外邊攞翻嚟嘅一啲狗仔侵落去嘅。咁如果我哋驗到證明唔係嘅話嘅時候咧，佢觸犯嘅條例咧就唔係我哋139B章嘅條例，佢係咁偽造文書啊！嗰條條例就係個檢控嘅係刑事係坐監嘅案件嚟嘅，就唔係話單單我取消咗你個牌，以後唔俾你養咁簡單咯，就或者罰你5萬蚊、10萬蚊，唔係咁少咯。啊
ordinance 邊個？
偽造文件咯。
邊個 ordinance 佢話
？221
221
221 QQ 啊，係咯，所以變成就嗰度你就偽造文書同埋欺詐罪咯。
明白。頭先嗰位朋友個澄清就係話抽取咧就隻隻都係抽取 DNA，但係驗咧就唔係隻隻驗。
冇錯，嗰定但係個決定權係政府度，冇錯。
好啦
當然咧，我如果即係你睇落阿媽同仔完全唔同樣嘅，或者話你講隻細狗種生到10幾隻嘅，咁嗰啲我哋就會一定會驗啦。
明白。
係。
咁因為頭先渠獸醫你話你驗完之後，你會發翻一個證明文件俾佢，佢先至容許售賣啊嘛。你係咪咁講啊？
係。
咁如果你唔係隻隻驗嘅話，你點可能隻隻去發一個證明書俾佢售賣咧？
我哋係會抽取樣本，咁啊。
但係你頭先話佢話要得到你證明書先至可以售賣啊嘛。
冇錯。
咁佢隻隻都想售賣噶嘛。
係當然。
佢唔係淨係你驗咗嗰啲先至售賣啊嘛。咁如果你唔係隻隻驗，咁佢點樣可以？
喂，隻我哋都會抽取樣本咯。
你話唔係隻隻驗啊嘛？
係啦，冇錯，唔係隻驗㗎。
咁你唔驗點樣發證明書俾佢售賣？
我哋嗰個證明唔係證明佢我一個父子，唔係我一個母子嗰個關係。
係證明咩啊？
我哋係證明佢已經經過咗我哋嘅抽查。
抽查。
即係呢個已經係證明佢已經交過嚟俾我哋進行一個抽查嗰個。即係證明佢，即係呢個已經係有記錄嘅。
所以如果其實係唔係證明嗰隻狗媽同個仔個關係，而係證明咗呢個
已經做咗呢個 procedure，
經過咗
佢已經做咗呢個 procedure，就經過咗呢個步驟，呢個挑戰。
咁我建議呢一個微妙嘅關係應該寫清楚喺你個條例個文字嗰度咯，等公眾知道。
呢個 code of practice 嚟。
係啊。
即係我哋喺即係相關嘅營業者嚟申請呢個牌照嘅時候咧，我哋會寫得好清楚。
我明。
我哋將來會點做？
我意思係喺呢一個除咗呢一個諮詢會之外，你應該仲有正式嘅諮詢文件關於呢個 code of practice 㗎嘛。如果我哋頭先單憑我哋口講咁樣聽，都有一個可能誤會嘅話咧，文字上都可能會有咁嘅誤會，所以我哋建議你喺文字上去寫清楚，包括我哋頭先提出嗰啲誤會咧，避免大家又做呢個誤會咯。
個 procedure 我哋可以寫得詳細寫，呢個冇問題。將來個 code of practice 都可能會喺網上都有睇嘅。
係啊。OK 好。咁另外我哋亦都會喺個sorry。
Yeah. And the most important thing is who paid the cost? The government?
Yeah. 全部都係政府俾錢。
You have to put the cost on me because yes. Don't put the cost on the taxpayer like me.
OK 好，我哋收到你哋嘅意見。
Yes, you have to discuss with the accounting department.
OK。 不過因為有時咧，我哋係即係攞咗呢個樣本，我哋驗咗之後，我哋會進行檢控嘅。咁就即係個有個爭議性就係、喂你俾錢喎，我哋反而仲告你，咁變成對政府會有啲關係。因為通常如果我哋真係執行進行檢控嘅話咧，我哋就一定即係為免個公正性咧，我哋一定係政府出錢去做呢樣嘢。
咁政府都唔係好 concern。
Okay.
Sorry, even your APR
Yeah.
should be user pays. It shouldn't be us.
佢搜
So right now we are not.
首先佢建築都唔 make sense 嘅。
OK, good.
咁點解點去做呢啲啊？即係信
好，聽到你哋嘅意見啊。
佢嘥時間。
好，咁喺個幼犬出售嘅年齡啦，同個買家嘅年齡限制咧，我哋都會有咁嘅建議嘅。咁就幼犬最低嘅出售年齡咧，我哋要定響8個週歲。咁但係就幼犬出售前咧，唔少於14日裏邊咧，一定要經由獸醫進行個首次嘅接種有效嘅防疫疫苗嘅。我哋希望佢哋就譬如8週歲，獸醫建議用疫苗嘅時間，咁啊再過2個禮拜，咁佢差唔多10個禮拜先至去進行銷售嗰啲狗隻嘅咩啦嘅行為啦。咁另外我哋亦都會建議持牌人咧就唔可以售賣狗隻俾18歲以下或者懷疑係18歲以下嘅人士。好，咁啊，我要簡單要講嘅嗰個 practice 嘅嘢相關呢度，最主要就係我哋真係冇話去佢嘅屋企嘅家居做定期嘅巡查咧，我哋所牽涉到嘅成本係。
其實我哋講我哋個直接感受，但係因為你個諮詢出咗嚟之後咧，其實公眾都會有呢個感受㗎嘛，係咪先？即係之前我哋唔知嘛，咁我就想話翻俾你聽，公眾可能都會有同樣嘅感受。
好，
我諗咁講啦，呢個牌照嘅價錢咧係後面有啲信息嘅，即係你收得平就意味住呢樣嘢係比較容易做嘅。
明白。
甚至係鼓勵你去做嘅，或者至少係唔反對你去做嘅。你收得貴咧，就意味住佢係我哋唔鼓勵你去做嘅。你最好唔好做嘅。即係呢個定價背後係有咁樣嘅信息。
明白。
咁所以呢個處方都考慮翻。
OK，明白。但係你亦都要睇下而家嘅實際嘅環境，有幾多個人願意去俾錢去買一隻年紀即係1歲以上嘅狗咧？因為而家90%幾以上嘅銷售真係全部係低於5個月，或者甚至係10個禮拜、3、4個月嘅狗，90%幾以上嘅真係除咗真係送俾朋友或者叫人領養之外，嗰啲真係賣唔去嘅。其實我問翻啲 pet shop 真係5個月以上嘅狗真係。
我哋講緊排費嘛。
係咯。
但係
其實因為我記得我哋喺文化中心嘅時候咧，即係你 sell 呢樣嘢啦，呢個單一牌照嘅時候，其實主要都係 for 嗰啲真係出 show 嘅90幾萬，其實主要講緊呢樣嘢㗎嘛，係咪先？
明白。
咁所以係啦，既然係咁嘅話，咁你又而家又突然間有個好矛盾嘅例子出嚟咁樣，一鼓勵去賣。
唔係鼓勵佢，人哋唔會。隻狗嘅價錢如果係咁高嘅話，你唔會為慳呢200蚊或者嗱再定高啲，我2000蚊咧。如果隻狗10幾萬嘅話，你就唔會在乎呢200蚊啦，定2000蚊啊？即係個爭議點嘅嘢，問題最重要係隻狗你咁大年紀嘅狗係冇人。
我諗最大嘅爭議嘅地方反而喺甲類同埋乙類咯。一盤咁大嘅生意，如果我即係要考慮去揸的士同揸小巴，咁我就覺得大鑊啦！我冇錢俾咁嘅牌費喎，買唔起喎，咁不如去做繁殖者啦。繁殖者原來俾出嗰個門檻入場費咧係幾千蚊，咁如果入場之後我失敗咗嘅，或者咁啱巧俾你巡查到喎，咁我就俾你吊銷牌照，咁我嗰個損失嗰幾千蚊，其實喺我頭嗰1胎或者頭嗰2胎已經賺突咗嘅時候，咁呢盤生意其實係真係幾好做咯。唔係呢個亦都係我喺接觸其他私人繁殖者嘅時候，佢哋俾翻嚟我嘅信息，佢哋都係覺得 其實係幾有呢個嘅考慮嘅空間嘅。
誒，
我反映翻個意見俾你啫。
明白，收到。因為我哋亦都有好廣泛咁問過，即係其他從業。
唔係，我單講牌照費，我唔係講其他。即係牌照費2-3千蚊對佢哋嚟講，實在係一個好好嘅入場門檻嚟嘅。嚇，即係我用翻個例子就係我唔會考慮揸小巴同的士，我係會考慮做繁殖者嘅。
如果你淨係諗住呢2000幾蚊一年嘅話，
好啦，咁我陣間再講其他啲。
係啊，因為始終做 breeder 嘅話咧，其實係佢哋要考慮嘅其他嘅付出係好多，即係經營嘅點樣嘅真係。
我想關於收牌費呢樣嘢咧，我想從納稅人嗰個角度，從納稅人因為我哋大家都係納稅人啦。咁漁護署頭先講嗰啲 code of practice 好 detail 啦，咁我想像咁如果真係要有效咁實行嗰啲 code of practice 嘅話，你哋要將來要有好廣泛嘅巡查工作，咁就要好多資源嘅。咁嗰啲資源喺邊度嚟？一定係錢從何處來咧？唔係納稅人就係佢哋㗎啦。咁如果你即係佢哋要做呢一行，正如所有其他嘅專業都好，佢哋要維護佢哋嘅專業嘅水準嘅時候，佢哋一定要付出某一啲嘅代價嚟要鞏固佢哋嗰個自己嗰個行業嘅質素嘅。咁所以你即係單從嗰個資源嗰度咧，其實唔應該單喺納稅人嗰度攞咯，佢哋都要喺通過牌費嗰度去付出翻一啲咯。呢個問題係一半，另外一半咧就頭先阿渠秀姨你講咗一句説話，我唔知我有冇聽錯，就令我好擔心嘅。頭先你答有位朋友嘅回應嘅時候就話我哋收得咁平個牌費就因為我哋都唔會特登上咁多屋企去查係咪啊？單次嗰啲 ，OK。咁單次嗰啲你就唔會上屋企查㗎啦。OK。
簡單加多幾句啦。其實我哋嘅所謂嘅監管佢哋咧，就唔係單靠巡查嘅，因為我哋自己有個好大嘅 database， 我哋亦都知道佢邊幾隻狗乸出嚟嘅狗仔係去咗邊度啊，或者新嘅狗主嚟登記嘅註冊嘅嗰度，我哋都會有個電腦嘅系統去監管翻。
咁除咗你個 database 之外，你係100% 唔巡查，抑或都會抽樣巡查？
唔係抽樣巡查，係都會巡查。
咁你頭先就話唔巡查嘅？
單次
我而家講單次。
講緊 over。
但係單次嗰啲就一定係唔巡查㗎啦。
係啊，因為真係講老實話。
得呢個明白，呢個明白嘅，咪單次明白嘅。
其他嗰啲我哋係即係除咗巡查呢個手段之外，仲有其他嘅。OK，sorry。
我諗你真係要諗一諗咧，如果係 even， 我唔理單次嗰個先咧，因為單次嗰個分咯。A 同 B 牌，如果你嗰個 breeder 係有幾多隻狗嘅話咧，我諗係要按狗頭計咯。按狗頭計，我覺得係 reasonable。即係你，同埋你亦都冇 set 個 maximum。如果 B 牌嘅 maximum 有幾多隻先
？2隻或以上啊嘛。
5隻或以上可以真係要。係啊。咁 infinity， 我50隻又係3000蚊，我500隻又係3000蚊，我嗰成個農場都係3000蚊，我唔介意㗎，我真係唔介意嘅。
明白。
我覺得應該係用一個叫 sliding scale 係啦。
明白。
即係嗰個遞進法係啦，遞進法，即係幾多隻狗嘅。我當我豪俾你，我唔愛狗公啦，我淨係計狗乸。我覺得要數狗頭計咯。
明白。
我覺得3000幾蚊完全唔得，因為
又或者計佢會出售一隻。
即係我覺得太過平啦，同埋我 suggest 過佢哋其實如果佢真係做一個 B 牌，真係開一個場嘅喎，我哋 consider 係一個場嚟㗎啦，係咪先？即係等於你而家之前嘅 B 打牌啦嚇，你即係替代咗個場啦 ，OK？而家我要大場嗰啲牌，點解唔其實會唔會加多個 requirement？ 佢一定要申請10分嘅啫咧
？OK，
因為 test shop 你而家一定要做㗎嘛。
明白。因為而家我哋都有啲具規模嘅，即係可以符合到將來 B 牌嘅條件咧，其實已經有㗎啦。咁就佢哋都係有商業登記證嘅。我相信基本上你做得嗰啲都會有㗎。我哋亦都會要求。
係咪規定嘅先？ 唔規定嘅。
有人新入行咧，
係咯。
我哋會要求佢俾我哋咯。
係咪只係屬於COD 裏邊一種啊？我哋想問啫。
呢個比較困難少少，但係我哋基本上而家所有嘅都有。
但係個申請牌照嗰個人去問你嘅時候，你點答？
你都係咁答啊？都係等而家有少少一樣啫嘛。跟住先會作，係啊。
其實 B 牌我哋就基本上都要㗎啦。
唔好講基本上啊，即係而家我當我冇理由咁答我㗎。
規定要，
而家就係要嘅。
即係規定嘅要。
而家講緊將來。
而家冇 B 牌。
呢個問題好易答啫嘛，要一樣要啫嘛，係咪？
係，明白。
唔使啊
A 牌我哋考慮緊，講老實話嘅，係我明白你嘅考慮。
我 recap 翻先。如果我冇聽錯頭先阿徐秀姨同埋阿蘇生都係話 A 牌同 B 牌都係考慮緊嘅啫喎。
唔係
你頭先講法係
B 牌，我哋而家會要求佢俾我哋嘅，係啦。
法定要求。
咁如果係喺嚟緊呢份
唔係法定要求，係乜嘢要求啊？係咩？
個人要求。
我哋嘅
私下要求。
唔係，我哋而家發牌嘅時候，我哋會要求佢。
或者咁樣問啦，或者咁樣問，做 be fair 啦，公平少少。嗱，考慮緊要求佢俾商業登記啊。咁你即係如果你係有啲考慮係唔想佢俾，或者唔需要佢俾，嗰啲唔想佢俾嘅因素，嗰啲嘅原因係咩咧？有啲咩因素會令到你係唔想去俾嘅咧？
第一個我覺得最大嘅因素就係因為始終係商業登記證唔係我哋部門個法例啊或者規管啊所要求嘅嘢。
首先唔係嘅，呢個係叫 requirement 嚟㗎。你唔
我明白 Gloria， 我明白你嘅考慮。我哋當然
可以申請呢個 license。
我知，我哋當然會有考慮。
你哋呢個考慮喺我哋嘅考慮之中，我哋都係考慮。
我哋有諗緊嘅，
我哋都係
我諗過嘅。
考慮。
將來一定會要。
回答翻阿 Gloria 你頭先嘅問題啦，即係個封頂嗰個問題啦。我同你講翻下，而家我哋手頭上嗰幾個咧大型嘅繁殖場啦，最多都係9隻啊，講緊冇狗啊，最多都係70隻狗。我亦唔相信邊個仲有更大嘅本事可以攞到更高嘅狗。哇！好似就係嗰幾廿隻啲啦。
最驚
其實係一個半個嘅啫。而家都係小型嘅，因為你大家都知啦，香港地咁貴，你有乜可能真係叫李家傑出嚟做翻呢行，哇養3000隻狗嘅咁，根本就我相信過，如果我有咁大 size 嘅地嘅話，我做第二行咧。
唔係，但係我想講，所以法例就係法例啊嘛。
冇錯。
呢個唔係話你而家我估計啊嘛，係咪？法例就係法例啊嘛，咁所以都強烈希望你哋考慮嗰個封頂個問題。
好啊，你哋建議幾多？
你要我哋建議嗰個？
我
哋建議
你唔好問佢啫，盞教佢啫，盞嗌交。
你以前講過嘅。OK， 好啦。好。
一個 question 咧就係關於個 breeder 牌，因為有個係即係 trader 嗰個 question，一個係 breeder，我想問個。而家咧有好多 mixed breeding 嘅 experimental breeding。呢一方面其實係咪要考慮嗰個規管咧？即係譬如細種狗唔可以 breed 大種，或者係佢哋個 mixed breeding 如果係失敗咗嗰啲狗係點樣處理？因為而家係即係細種咧係好 hot market 啦，大家都而家喺度實驗緊，想整嗰啲即係牧羊狗越嚟越細種啦，洛威奶又越嚟越細種啦，咩大狗都整細種咁樣。咁我見過咧，呢個實例嚟嘅就係見過大埔咧有一個 private 嘅 dog owner 咧，就用自己一隻哥基去同佢自己嗰隻金木去 mix breed， 咁佢生到佢死下啦咁樣。咁呢啲嘅 situation 咧係我諗都幾普遍發生嘅。嗰啲 miscarriage 咧個 rate 我相信都唔低嘅。咁呢個其實係一個 qualify 佢哋乜嘢人去攞一隻乜嘢狗，佢唔可以同邊一種狗 breed。另外就係而家嘅 breeder， 我哋有冇一個 control， 有冇一個 policy 或者一個循序漸進嘅 policy 咧，係唔再容許嘅，或者處方有冇一個趨向咧，係唔再俾一啲唔適合香港氣候生活嘅狗種嚟香港，同埋狗即係所有其他動物都係。有冇呢個方向咧？我諗呢個好緊要咯。呢個係唔係好 兩個大嘅 question 啦，喺 breeding 嗰度。咁而家喺 trader 嗰度啦，即係有隻狗由breeder 去咗鋪頭嗰算。咁當然啦，我哋最容易賣嗰個階段咧，就3個月以下啲狗仔，4個月就已經好問水啦。到6個月就已經機會唔大嘅。咁我哋都知道唔係隻狗都即刻去鋪頭就即刻見到個主人賣得出去。咁喺嗰個即係嗰隻狗仔喺個鋪頭嘅居住期間咧，係咪應該有 more detail 嚟去規管嗰隻狗點樣被看待咧？因為有啲狗真係你就算我俾個箱佢住，佢真係一路住，一住就住6個月，住到唔知最恐怖就係去到尾嘅時候，如果賣唔出隻狗係點樣處理？主方係咪應該有啲要求？佢哋喺呢一方面即係要提供翻賣唔出嘅狗係應該點樣做？立咗條先啦。
我諗如果 trader 嗰方面，我諗都可以考慮下，即係有少少似 breeder 嗰啲，譬如可能佢 retire 咗嘅狗係點樣樣。我話 trader 嗰方面咧，即係可能都可以考慮下，好似 breeder 咁樣樣，譬如佢退咗休嘅狗需要點樣樣咧，可能係俾人領養啦，或者佢自己養翻啦，或者可能送俾朋友就即係
係咯，我哋要佢 report 翻咧。如果
trader 嗰啲可能即係譬如佢真係賣唔出嘅話。
係啊，唔好意思啊，嗰邊聽唔到啊。
嗰邊聽唔到，好，我大聲少少。我話trader 嗰度就可以考慮下，譬如如果佢賣唔出嘅狗可以點樣處理？
養子嚟考慮。首先就即係好多謝業主安排呢個機會俾大家，即係就呢個139B再討論下。咁我哋139B 嘅關注組嘅成員咧，其實而家都有超過20個組織㗎啦。咁其實就針對發牌嘅數量啊、種類嘅原則等等啊，仲有實務守則等等啦嚇，我哋即係都係好想有建設性嘅意見。其實原則上我哋係好支持今次處方嘅修例，即係只不過係真係希望即係攞得出嚟講，就令到佢係即係盡時盡利咁睇嘅啫。咁既然今日係集中講實務守則咧，我哋都即係有啲嘅即係成員咧都好想集中喺呢度即係俾個意見。咁我知道我哋Echo應該係有啲嘅資料想分享翻。
咁我哋睇翻2010年審計署嘅報告，咁其中有一點咧就係喺第2.4段嗰度嘅，就講緊佢哋審計署喺2009年嘅12月就巡查咗2條街入邊嘅其中9間寵物店。咁但係由呢9間寵物店入面咧，發現有2間係無牌經營嘅，呢個係審計署自己查出嚟，嗰度講緊22%。咁其實咪可以反映到咧，會唔會你哋啲人手根本唔足夠？因為既然喺街嗰度咧，當間當戶打開門做生意都會睇唔到查唔到嘅咧，其實都係一個問題。
所以就係繼呢個審計署報告之後，我哋其實就成立咗一個新嘅小組咧，係專門去打擊呢啲可能網上嘅買賣，或者一啲即係可能平日即係去我哋同事會出去睇，有一啲甚至可能係話自己係grooming嘅鋪頭，但係其實可能佢有買賣嘅，咁我哋有做防止嘅。
我想問少少，咁我想問新成立呢組咧有幾多人？
新成立呢組如果係
得，我哋大聲啲，好得。
如果係如果而家冇記錯，我諗大概700個人好咯。
700個人。
咁但係當然700個。咁但係當然我哋每一區我哋自己都另外有同事嘅，咁佢哋如果平日去做一啲巡查，佢哋睇到，佢哋都係會通知我哋嘅。係啦。
但係另外我都想提翻審計署上次嗰個報告咧，佢喺關於嗰個寵物嘅養店無牌經營嗰度咧，其實佢係抽查咗4條街裏邊查咗15間寵物嘅養店，咁其中係佔咗10間都係無牌經營嘅，其實個百分比好高60.7%咯。咁其實我都好質疑，即係你哋抽查嗰個成果，即係嗰個百分比係好高嘅60.7%。
明白。咁嗱。我想講翻就係因為亦都喺我哋即係呢幾年裏面啦，做一啲放蛇嘅行動或者一啲嘅 enforcement 嘅行動裏面咧，我哋都發現原來咧有好多人佢哋係唔知道即係做呢啲咁嘅牌，即係做呢啲咁嘅波齡咧，佢要領牌嘅。咁所以我哋都係 target 喺一啲教育方面咯，即係有啲人真係唔知嘅，佢唔係未必係咁樣嘅，係啦，即係都有咁樣嘅情況。
我想問下，
好，可唔可以俾嗰邊問咗先？係啦。
我想問咧，你哋成立咗個小組之後咧，你哋巡查咗成立咗個小組，跟住巡查，跟住有幾多嘅 improvement 咧？
嗱，實質嘅數字我一刻手頭上係冇嘅，不過我哋都見到係有 improvement 嘅，係少係
多 多咗註冊嘅都。
係啦，多咗註冊。你話實質數字呢一刻手頭上真係俾唔到你，係可以之後俾你。
其實 ESA 其實講真啦，註唔註冊係一個問題，但係實質你行去 cash shop 你真係得閒行下 cash shop 咯。我好簡單講一樣嘢啫，就係鋪豬仔版呢樣嘢。你 suppose 係應該係 at least half the space 係一個軟墊俾你。係啊。我話俾你聽，我附近真係公司仲有一間寵物店，我得閒去睇下，佢完全冇改善過，成個月行過都冇改善過。咁證明一樣係乜嘢？就係你哋嘅 enforcement 唔夠咯。咁你請7、8個人去做而家嘅嘢，嚟緊講緊嗰一紮嘅 A 牌、B 牌18，佢有幾多人？我講多你7、8個人，可能你係冇唔夠 enforcement 咯。
答翻你啊 ，enforcement 係第啲同事做嘅，唔係嗰7、8個。
唔係嗰7、8個。咁你唔係嚟緊你
我哋分區係有。
咁嚟緊啲同事有幾多個？
係啦，你嚟緊
我哋4個，我哋仲唔會，我哋仲會同逼緊，係啊。係
啦，嚟緊請幾多人？
未有定數，我哋而家仲同內部計緊同埋同 CSB 嗰邊申請。
大家好擔心咧，法例有，原來冇人做，好似而家啲 ATL 牌，我真係老實講，我餐落銅鑼灣又係見到鋪晒豬仔版，我冇見過咧有一間咧，我真係冇見過，冇見過一間係又有豬仔版又有箭嘅，真係㗎，我唔係話冇見過嘅。可能喺啲環頭環尾經過嗰啲比較真係良心啲嘅 feeder 嗰啲啊，真係你真係啲好 commercial 嘅景隆街、星地道，我冇見過。星地道啱啱先行過嘅。
嗱，阿 Gloria，你介唔介意我提出啲證據支持你嘅論點啊？
我都有啊，我影咗相啊。
唔係亦都好歡迎你哋將呢啲資料俾我哋。我哋會揾人去跟啦嚇。我答埋阿 Gloria 嗰啲問題先，唔好意思啊，啲明啊。
有相㗎，其實
明白，俾啲資料我哋啊，我哋會揾人去跟佢啊，佢哋會，我哋真係認真跟佢哋會驚嘅啊。另外你頭先講嘅人手方面咧，即係好似上次我哋一齊見副局長嘅時候，咁亦都好多謝你哋提出咗呢個 concern 啦，驚我哋將來唔夠人手做啦，咁亦都將呢個信息好清楚咁話咗俾局嗰邊嘅人知道啦。咁希望喺嚟緊我哋真係申請人手嘅時候，佢哋會考慮咁多位你哋嘅意見，知道我哋真係如果需要人手去做呢樣嘢嘅時候，佢哋會批到俾我哋。
係，我可唔可以輪到我未啊？輪到我未啊？
得，明白。嗰個比較真係難 enforce 啲。我完全明白你嘅覺得，亦都體諒真係，我都知道即係獸醫一段都會知道，有啲小種狗佢係希望生多1、2隻賣錢，咁啊揾隻小型嘅狗去配隻大啲嘅乸，等佢生多2隻冒充係純種嘅狗去賣。咁呢個情一唔係淨係香港，全世界都有咁嘅不良嘅繁殖者做緊嘅。咁我知明白，但係你亦都好難去真係將佢寫落啲泥度，去真係做到呢樣，因為你冇。
即係嗱，如果我哋有
最現實嘅考量就係一個買，即係真係肯去俾錢去買一隻狗，而唔去領養嘅，或者去真係餵養一隻唐狗。佢哋會追求純種啊嘛、名種啊嘛，佢哋先肯揞咁多錢去買噶嘛。哇！如果揞咁多錢買完，喂，即係雜種狗嘅喎，咁你覺得佢即係佢係呃啲無知嘅人咁？哇！呢隻哇靚啊純種啊，但係點知之後翻嚟發覺話原來真係雜種嘅狗嘅話咧，其實佢哋係呃得1次半次嘅，但係真係做唔長。但係亦都我明白。
law 嘅 function 係第一，我哋自己政府部門要守法啦，169條 law 喺度要 prevent cruelty。咁我哋個 law
明白
點可以開到呢個窗？
明白，但係你又點樣可以真係硬性規定呢一種狗就唔可以配呢一種狗咧？
攞牌嗰陣要有專業知識咁就得。係啊，佢哋攞牌嗰陣時佢要登記，佢要有專業嘅繁殖啊動物。
我哋有咁頭先你睇 COP 嗰度你都睇到，我哋係會要求佢哋接受過適當嘅 training 嘅做。
係邊個俾嘅？
我哋仲同出邊傾緊。
我哋要 train 完考完試有牌。
我哋仲同出邊傾緊。
你頭先寫你淨係寫話 對佢嗰個特徵係認識
唔止特徵嘅，成個字啊。
滿意，但滿意嘅程度係用咩去界定？
哦，咁叻啊！好，繼續
可唔可以
啊！繼續
我排咗好耐啦，好排咗好耐。
哦。
嗱，頭先就話即係巡查嘅資源問題，即係夠唔夠人手去巡查，大家都有一個疑問啦。以下落嚟呢個審計處報告一段咧，就未必同人手有關係。
啊，你點樣開分嘅？啊，唔好意思。
係，你整完先啦。
你講，你問啊。
係，我話頭先講嗰啲咧，就係同人手巡查人手資源有關啦。
係。
咁但係我哋睇到咧，其中上次2010年審計處嗰個報告咧，呢段就未必同人手有關啦。
好。
咁但佢第2.17段咧就話咧，嗰次審計處咧就查咗你哋漁護署1000份嘅巡查報告。咁呢1000份報告裏邊咧，其中有900份咧就聲稱咧，佢嗰啲巡查咧就冇發現有異常嘅情況。有大部分都話冇異常情況嘅。咁但係審計處就即管陪你哋啲漁護署人員落去街嗰度查啦，巡查。咁就發覺咧，原來佢陪咗你哋去12間嘅寵物店同埋即係寄養所，就發現咧，你哋漁護署嘅人員咧根本就冇查晒佢應該要遵守嗰啲嘅發牌條件嘅，就咁咧就填咗個 report 話冇事咁就算啦。900份都話冇事，但係一抽12間咧，審計處就係話好多嘢你哋根本就冇查到，所以咪冇事咯。係啦，
明白。2010年個審計報告出咗嚟之後咧，我哋亦都做咗好多嘅跟進嘅措施，亦都改咗，亦都點解我哋有2010年之後，我哋要求嗰啲新嘅發牌有新嘅發牌條件嘅情形啊。
例如咧，好唔係我諗其實咧，我哋
跟進嗰次嘅 ombudsman 有啲咩嘅，咪就係嗰個2010年之後我哋嘅。
我哋譬如會有一啲譬如 surprise 嘅 inspection 啦，可能即係除咗嗰位同事佢去定期做巡查之外，佢嘅上級啦，即係甚至我哋獸醫生可能都要即係抽查咁樣去跟進翻。即係如果就住嗰一方面即係巡查嘅問題嘅話，係啦，即係會有做翻一啲咁樣嘅改善工作。
我哋嘅單因為以往嗰個牌照個數量唔係咁多啦，嗰個 code of practice 亦都俾你哋建議嗰啲咧係簡單好多。咁如果嗰陣時已經有咁即係似乎呢啲有可能係疏忽甚至乎誠信嘅問題咧，你哋將來喺咁多嘅即係會增加咁多發牌嘅時候，同埋嗰個code of practice 係仔細複雜要求咁高嘅時候咧，你哋即係嗰啲人手同埋佢哋嘅質素咧，巡查嘅質素咧係追唔追得上咯？
我或者舉翻
多謝你嘅關心啦。咁我哋亦都正如喺嗰一次嘅審計報告之後，我哋亦都真係有懇切記取呢啲咁嘅教訓啦。咁啊，希望嚟緊日子我哋嘅做出嚟嘅嘢，做出嚟嘅相關嘅會考慮過往佢哋所提議過嘅專業點咯。
Jeffrey，我諗我哋意思係咁啊，即係如果我哋見到頭先你提出好多嘅細則咧，係咁理想嘅時候咧，咁我哋好難想像，即係人都有惰性嘅，即係過去嗰咁多嘅巡查員，佢哋1000份裏邊有九成嘅人都係咁樣偷雞嘅時候咧，我哋好難想像，當佢變到有更加難嘅工作嘅時候咧，佢哋唔去偷雞咯。我舉一個例子，頭先你有一度咧，你話咧要求嗰啲喺美容血嗰個範圍裏邊嗰啲狗咧，就係唔準賣嘅，即係要買嗰啲就唔準擺喺裏邊嘅咁樣。咁我幾難想像你啲巡查人員會係咁有細心去睇下呢啲係唔係賣嘅咧？剪緊毛嗰啲係咪唔賣嘅咧？咁如果裏邊嗰個剪緊毛嗰人同佢講，哦唔係啊，呢隻唔賣嘅，不過剪毛嘅啫，或者啊嗰隻先係賣嘅。咁我諗講多幾講嘅時候，我諗嗰啲巡查人員就係唔能夠 fulfill 到你背後嗰個咁崇高嘅精神咯。即係你如果之前嗰個精神唔係咁崇高，都 meet 唔到嘅時候，哇！以後又要即係你咁理想，我唔相信一個基本嘅巡查員啦 ，OK 叫做佢所知嘅薪水，我唔知幾多啦，會係你可以透露嘅。佢點樣去符合你嘅要求咧？同埋頭先我想問翻阿陶獸醫，佢話佢哋嘅上司都會去有份巡查。嗱，我就真係都幾懷疑，你哋咁忙，你哋點抽時間又走去寵物店度巡查埋一份咧？如果係咁嘅時候，我都好驚啊，大佬，因為你哋係負責做行政、做管理， 做策劃嘅工作，而你哋要用埋你哋嘅時間同埋精神個精力走去巡查埋呢一班人有冇違規，乖唔乖，有冇巡查。咁我諗成件事嘅精神都
阿陶秀依嘅意思，佢係咪話唔係巡查嗰啲鋪頭，佢係巡查嗰啲員工有冇
巡查啲員工有冇巡查啦？
係啊係。
係啊。
啱啱想答翻你，你頭先話譬如美容區嗰度咧，咁我嗱希望我冇即係諗錯思路啦。但係如果係即係譬如到時我哋真係行呢一個 DNA 嘅 sampling 嘅話咧，佢就需要有嗰張紙。咁如果佢擺喺美容區嗰啲，佢唔係賣嘅，照係佢就出示唔到嗰張證明，就應該 check 到咧嗰啲狗就唔係賣嘅。即係如果
我嘅意思咪係咯，如果當時我咪同你講啊，唔好意思，我唔賣㗎啦，呢隻咁得咯，就係咁簡單啫嘛。咁佢點嗰個人會唔會 further？即係佢有冇嗰個精神去同你追落去？你明唔明我意思啊？我只一句説話已經灑走咗你啦。
其實我哋係好易嘅，因為咧，你哋 set 嗰個咁高嘅標準咧，而家01年嗰個都做唔到咧。如果你到 set 咁高標準咧，出年咧，如果審計報告又出咧，你哋嘅漏洞啦，如果更大咧，其實整個漁護處咧好大鑊咯，真係為你哋好㗎咋，唔係講笑，真係為你哋好。
其實我諗所有員工咧，即係我都希望佢哋一定係勤力。其實我哋亦都應該要監管嘅勤力。咁正如頭先所講啦，我哋嘅上司應該要去巡查，呢個亦都有做緊嘅。哦，咁無可否認咧，我相信如果冇人監管嘅話咧，有部分嘅員工會躲懶咧，呢個我諗都好難避免的，而且確係事實，人一定有躲少。所以我喺度咁講啦，我大膽啲咁講，其實可能未必係好嘅。其實將來可能即係可能要勞煩到大家都一齊去監管。我哋嘅工作都係俾你監管。可以咁講，
我哋冇鬥人工嘅
喎。我明白你嘅意思，即係
唔係，而且我哋話已經説在前頭啦嘛。咁樣如果我哋講話已經説在前頭啦，咁到時你又話我要去監管，咁又
明白。我哋當然即係正如我哋呢一次開諮詢會嘅目的，亦都要聽你哋嘅意見。咁我聽咗你哋嘅顧慮嘅嘢，即係懷疑嘅嘢，我哋喺呢方面會更加真係做得好啲。咁希望亦都即係我始終係將來嘅事，我唔講今日發生話啊，一定會點樣，一定得或者一定唔得咁啊。
我諗咁講
只靠將來你睇到我哋做得到唔到位咯。
其實我自己都係打工嘅，即係如果將所有責任推曬喺嗰個打工嘅人身上，又未必係公平。因為嗰個客觀嘅工作條件是否容許佢咁盡責咧？呢個其實相當關鍵。因為嚟緊你哋喺嗰個發牌嘅數量上，或者嗰個狗隻嘅數量上，我越嚟越近先算啦，係冇上限冇封頂嘅。咁如果嚟緊有1萬個人攞 A 牌，咁你又要個員工做到巡查嘅時候非常周到、非常細心、非常細緻，其實對個員工係唔公平嘅。
當然。
咁所以我又覺得與其我哋去即係指責，即係我又唔想話竹篙打死一船，所有漁護處嘅員工都係懶，我覺得咁樣係唔 fair 嘅。但係我而家就係睇到嗰個客觀條件根本係冇法子有利於佢哋去盡自己嗰個嘅職責。咁但係到頭來孭鑊嘅就係成個漁護處咁。即係咁又係我見到係輸，全部都係輸家，我見到嚇。咁同埋我亦都即係呢度手頭上都有啲資料係關於即係亦都有審計署報告都係提到，即係亦都係即係漁護署員工嗰個態度嘅問題啦，唔係人手嘅問題啦嚇。例如個別嘅動物管理中心咧，其實咧佢係冇將某啲嘅發牌條件咧，佢去巡查嘅時候，佢係冇將有啲發牌條件擺入去佢嗰個巡查清單嗰度，或者係唔同嘅動物管理中心咧，佢哋嘅巡查清單嘅內容係唔同㗎。咁有啲咧巡完咧又冇填報告，有啲巡嘅時候咧又冇帶晶片嗰個掃描器。咁曾經有 case 就係話審計處人員去抽查咗一隻狗咧，要求即係嗰個嘅持有牌照嗰人幫佢去 scan 晶片，但係佢又 scan 唔到。咁但係漁護處嘅職員咧其後咧又話咧嗰個繁殖場入邊咧32隻狗咧都已經入咗晶片㗎啦，但係明明其中有啲係冇嘅 scan 唔到嘅。即係呢啲我哋都會睇到有兩個可能，第一就係可能即係個員工本身嘅素質嘅問題，第二會唔會真係嗰個客觀條件，好似我頭先所講，其實係根本唔容許佢去做到自己嗰個責任，佢其實根本已經應付唔到。
OK， 多謝，得明白你嘅考量，因為我答埋佢先，答埋佢道理啊。正如你哋頭先一路所講呢個2010年嘅審計報告啦，咁我哋處方亦都收到啦，咁我哋亦都真係希望能夠盡到即係針對佢所講嘅我哋一啲弊端一啲，
我諗除咗希望先之外，你會講得更多嘅係咪啊？
明白，我哋亦都希望能夠盡到做得更好啦。咁我亦都好相信喺過往即係我嚟呢個 post 之前嘅佢哋已經喺呢個審計報告之後已經有改善嘅措施。 呢個我好深信。咁我哋希望嚟緊日子加埋你哋今日再一次嚟提醒我哋，希望我哋嚟緊日子會做得更好啦。好，後邊先，唔好意思，佢舉咗好耐。
我想問咧，頭先你話賣俾嗰啲人係要 over 18，係 compulsory 定係建議啊？
我哋會寫喺個 COP 嗰度。係。
咁會唔會話加埋居住嘅地方唔入得到係可以買？
明白。
呢樣嘢咧就要攞公契喎。
佢可以借嘅，但係佢可以借嘅。不過多個門檻。
但係通常
唔係，但係個問題咧。
唔係明白嗱，我哋即係你提到呢個問題，其實我哋都做咗好多嘢，做緊好多嘢，唔係做咗啊！即係好多嘢公屋咁唔俾養狗，咁我哋如果你真係邊位人士係公屋嘅地址，跟住又嚟申請狗牌咧，我哋係會通知房屋處嘅，咁佢哋會去追佢嘅，因為始終係真係呢間屋唔俾養狗係講，但係而家通常都係㗎啦，我住公屋養狗，我家唔會攞我嘅地址去登記隻狗，攞佢嘅地址去登記隻狗，跟住或者實際上真係養喺我度，咁嗰啲情形咧，我哋由我哋個狗牌嗰個 database 嗰度，我哋睇唔到嘅。我只不過真係需要有投訴啊，或者個公屋嘅管理處啊，或者佢哋啲業主立案啊，
賣俾嗰啲人，賣俾個消費者嘅。
呢個會牽涉到私人嘅問題，真係究竟嗰個店個老闆有冇權去攞你嘅地址嘅？我相信。
我覺得整個政府咧，或者呢個部門嘅執法咧，應該個邏輯應該係合理嘅，同埋前文後理應該係應該對得上嘅。咁既然公屋係唔可以養狗，咁你點解要賣隻狗俾佢養住公屋嘅人咧？其實係一個好簡單嘅邏輯嚟嘅啫。因為如果好簡單，如果你係唔可以養狗，但係你又賣咗狗俾住喺公屋嘅人，咁將來受害嘅係邊個咧？一定係小動物。嚇，咁所以基於你個修法其實係為咗加強對小動物嘅福利保障嘅話，我諗呢個你哋真係要慎重考慮咯。
好啊，但係即係話咗俾你知先係有私人嘅
呢個技術上處理，我相信你哋應該 OK 嘅嚇。
好啊，得，我又 OK。
講埋先，即係譬如我哋係去攞。
即係嗰班人都而家好多人都偷偷摸摸養緊狗㗎。
係。
嗰班人喺動物園睇領養唔到狗，所以佢哋就會偷偷摸摸。
Okay, 好。Okay. Fiona, you got questions?
Nobody's discussed it yet, but I see the 3 litters in 2 years is still there, which as a vet is really not on, and the breeders themselves say that's the maximum they can breed the dogs out, which just must mean it's more than that, so really it should be 1 litter per year. And also,
1 litter per year.
And also the category B, it seems that the smallest dog size cage is still smaller, quite small. And also, a lot of the overseas places have them so high that the person can walk in, because a lot of the stuff is their long-term staying in it, jumping up and down is quite important. People going to socialise and things like that. So, again, we're giving the dogs, especially the small ones, really small height, we're keeping them in there probably for years, 5 years, 6 years. And I think that should be addressed really. Maybe, and also the socialisation. Whilst you say you can share the exercise area, it says you can only put dogs in there 1 at a time, but actually for your enrichment, socialisation is quite important. So 2 dogs playing together isn't a problem for me, and actually it's a positive thing that 2 dogs can use the same area and play together.
唔好意思，我 follow 一下啱啱嘅我同講咧，因為其實都見到你哋今次呢個 presentation 同上次有啲嘢係改咗㗎。咁頭先 follow 翻去講個籠嗰度咧，月牌嗰度之前咧有講話個基本個籠嘅底部唔可以超過地下1.8米。咁我留意到今次係下咗嘅。咁其實呢個係即係意味住乜嘢咧？點解今次有呢個改動係寬鬆咗定係點嘅？
因為其實之前嗰個咧就可能係睇翻我攞翻個咪先。睇翻 pet shop 嗰度啊，因為 pet shop 咧係準佢可能有2層籠，即係而家咁樣樣啦。咁我哋就唔想佢個籠咧太過高，即係可能個人根本攞隻狗係即係或者隻狗會有機會喺上面跌落嚟咁。咁但係 breeder 嗰度咧，我哋就直頭唔俾佢搭籠噶啦，所以嗰個即係底部嗰個就冇咗呢一個限制咯。即係佢亦都應該個籠唔會即係高得好緊要咁樣，盡量希望佢喺地下或者即係整高少少嘅啫。即係隻狗可能一跳就跳咗落嚟，唔俾。點樣為之一個？
即係一層一層㗎。
唔可以，總之唔可以雙層咯，唔可以雙層。
3層就得。
唔可以嘅，唔可以有層。
佢嘅意思我係架上邊再擺籠啊，即係一個3層架，跟住擺籠喺度。
係，即係你有一個架，跟住上面擺一啲籠咁樣樣。應該即係唔可以離得地面太高咯，即係唔可，即係佢係可以一跳隻狗可以跳到落嚟嘅，係啦，有咁嘅情況，即係唔可以佢跳落嚟係佢跳唔到落嚟嗰種咯。
即係唔可以有一隻狗喺一隻狗上邊啦。
呢個一定係啦，冇錯啦。
好。
其實咧，即係老實講啦，即係大家都傾咗咁耐咧，其實你個 A 牌同 B 牌，你哋就唔會 consider combine 㗎啦，而家即係都。框已經
點解㗎？你話 consider 嘅喎，係啊，佢話 consider
俾阿 Gary 講埋先啦。
哇！你會
一樣嘢，第二樣嘢真係唔 consider 嘅話，你而家呢一紮數字會唔會再提高？即係譬如有幾多人講一隻細狗係100尺 ，B 牌咧就個活動就不少於7.4。我諗你英文有啲寫錯咗啊 ，can be shared among dogs。Not in the same time 係咪應該咁寫咧？即係我知你到時寫法例嗰陣時咧，就另一個即係寫落去就我唔知用啲咩 wording，可能用啲專業。
唔當然唔係嗰陣時會詳細啲啊！而家一個好 brief 嘅，即係俾你知道我哋個。
我想問就係 A 同 B 咧，其實會唔會一次過再升咧？譬如細狗唔單止100尺，可能要 class 到150。因為104隻細狗就每隻100就400。其實我哋講真啦，唔 ban 佢立呢啲例，就係想立呢啲例，等佢冇咁娛樂，係淘汰落有一紮人嘅啫。其實講真，亦都唔可以俾個即係話即係唔可以話俾你聽，我而家要 ban 就你，而係想話我俾你做。你 comply 到咪做咯？但係如果你話100尺一隻細狗嘅話咧，我又覺得就真係好多人又得喎。係啊，即係可唔可以添啲咧？即係明白冇啦，4隻就600。即係 normal 個香港人都應該有400-500尺嘅屋嘅，即係正常嚟講，除非做住籠屋嘅啫，係咪？400-500尺，即係如果你話4隻狗逼埋一齊。又係真係好似逼咗啲喎，可唔可以添啲咧？唔係淨係隻狗嘅，仲有人。係做人咧，係啦，做人咧。你需要100尺，你再放100尺就有人住同埋隻狗一齊 share，其實係好細，根本係逼埋一齊。100尺唔單即係好多時可能唔係淨係得一個人住㗎，可能有一對 couple。係啦，仲有冇得諗下呢度？係咪？即係如果我哋要講嘅咧，就係一係就 isolate 叫係一個 extra space。即係你個 human being 嘅嗰個 living space 係一個 extra 嘅100尺咁可以考慮。但係點樣去 assess 你邊一個係 human space，邊個 animal space？
唔係呢個亦都
或者係 per head， 每一個人同每一隻狗嗰個100尺，咁即係要 more specific 咯。
OK， 好，呢個亦都係我哋要開呢個諮詢會嘅目的，就係聽你哋嘅意見。
你答我係咪會同埋一啲唔適合香港？係啊，
喂 Dora， 多謝你啊！好，後邊嗰位yes。
Have you finished that topic?
Okay, you can start yours.
I don't know what they're talking about anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, my point is what I've just read up there. Dogs used for breeding shall be arranged for rehoming or neutering when they are retired. For me, that's kind of like giving the permission to the breeders, okay, we're finished with you now, we'll dump you, and you can be rehomed or whatever. And I really feel there should be something set within the law that these breeders have taken these dogs, they've had their best years, and then they just dump them. I don't agree with that. You know, if you're going to commit, you should absolutely commit, you know, to this animal. Because what is really horrendous, when they dump these animals, and I've got actually first-hand experience because I've got some dogs that now are my dogs that have been dumped by breeders, and they're dumped and they're in an absolutely horrendous state, absolutely horrendous. And a lot of these problems could be dealt with setting out in the law in the first place. For example, these breeder dogs should be having, by law, regular health checks. A lot of the problems that they have when they're dumped could have been avoided just by, and also by going in and having them checked, because obviously it takes a toll on their life, on their health, being bred as they're being bred. So why isn't it made law that they are working dogs, that they should be taken by law to the vet and have those checkups to show that they are healthy and that they can breed? You know, why just start it from the source, you know? And also, there's a lot of these dogs being bred with bad character flaws. That is not being addressed. And also their health. I mean, these little dogs, they've all got these luxating patella. Obviously, you're a vet, you know exactly what that is. And, you know, so why don't we, if we're going to breed, why don't we breed healthy dogs and, you know, adoptable dogs, not what we've got now? You know, and actually I've got this paperwork that I submitted in LegCode in 2009 with all these points, and also that these dogs have a life by law, and that they are desexed, and also that the female dogs are only allowed to have 2 cesareans by law, as a woman does, a human woman, and there's a reason for that, because it's a great risk to her health. So, you know, why not allow the dogs to have a life, you know? And also the male dogs as well. They're at great risk of testicular cancer as well. They should have a life, you know? They shouldn't be treated as these. As I say, I've got first-hand experience. And if you want, here's a character. Take a look. Okay, this is my dog. Beautiful, gorgeous, wow, pedigree, wow, how handsome. Gorgeous, super, okay? I adopted him from a charity. He came to me, he was 1 year old. His both knees were so badly out, they had to be done right away. It's all from bad breeding, bad breeding. So, you know, you take a bad dog and a healthy dog, put them together, what do you get? But God, isn't he handsome, isn't he gorgeous? If anyone would like to touch him and stroke him, you have to wear these gloves. Okay? Bad character. And it's all from inbreeding. There. You want to touch my dog? You wear these. Because that's what I have to do. And I've had him for 5 years. You can't do anything about it. It's inbred. So, you know, why not address these problems here and now?
I take your point because I'm a vet too.
Yes,
but, yeah. So yeah, we're considering some of these points, and I just want to clarify one point. It's about the retirement. So are you suggesting that they need to be be kept by the breeder?
Well, I think there should be some commitment.
Or not rehomed, you know, or like can they be adopted?
There should be some commitment. You know, you've taken this thing on. Now you've finished with it. Now I just dump it out. And as I say, they're dumped out in this horrendous condition. I mean, obviously that's a different case. I have another dog at home that's a breeder dog, and she's in a horrendous state. She's blind. She's in a real mess, and she's just been bred. She's 10 years old now. So they're different case I'm talking about, but they're both my dogs. Yeah.
So yeah, we will consider that, and hopefully with this new law amendment, there will be some improvement or changes to how people keep dogs, how they breed dogs, and how this would be done.
Yes, I mean, I've actually put in steps that, you know, why not have these animals checked by law, that they're healthy to breed, that they get a certificate from the SPCA. I mean, why not just have the SPCA do it so that you can't have any backstreet vets doing any fake certificates. I mean, they're widespread. They've got clinics all over Hong Kong now, on the islands, and they've been here for 88 years. You know, I can't see that they're going to trick anyone or whatever, so why not have the animal go to one of the SPCA vet clinics and get a certificate that they can be bred. They're a healthy dog, and they can be bred. And let's breed healthy animals, you know, because they all just get dumped when you look at the reason why these animals are dumped. And also, people get these animals from pet shops and they think they've got a pedigree, this, that and the other. Then they discover that it's not a pedigree at all. Then they dump it because they don't want it. They wanted a pedigree. So that when you look, you can do a quick list of why people dump them. One, because they're sick and they need expensive surgery. Hence, he was dumped. He was, what a fantastic pedigree. Look at him. He was dumped because he needed very expensive operations. $12,000 from the get-go for his legs to be done. That was the first thing he had to have done. And it's all from bad breeding.
Thanks for your comments and suggestions.
咁其實咧，你哋有冇香港都有幾個 kennel club 咧？所謂之 kennel club 啊，你哋有冇同佢哋傾過呢？
有關咩嘢？
有呢個 139。
當然有，當然有。
政府買位安置左右係咁咪讓我哋啲團隊啃晒呢啲，其實佢哋賺咗錢，我哋
係咯。
其實之前你哋實有做過 research 㗎啦，即係講真，你要塞呢個漏洞，我相信你做晒 research。其實我諗你喺 traders 嗰邊都即係你哋都會問過好多嘢㗎啦。
係。
Normally 你睇到嘅係乜嘢？現實係乜嘢？即係尤其是當 breed 狗嗰個情形，尤其是佢話 close 成個場啊，唔做啊，或佢話俾你聽唔做啊，其實佢係因為今期唔興歌姬，興咗Poodle啦，係轉款啊，即係你哋有冇 compare 個情形 ？compare 就喺你 traders 聽到嘅嘢，同埋喺啲 NGO 做緊 rescue 嗰班 NGO 嘅情況，你有冇 compare 過咧？
我哋都有了解過佢哋嘅，始終如果佢哋真係譬如話好似你所講嘅嗰啲情形，佢哋會抌啲狗出嚟嘅，咁通常好多嘅時候都係嚟咗我哋狗房嗰度嘅，咁我哋都有嘅，都有好多啊。
Jeffrey，講下你嗰13間啦，真係我眼見有人收10幾隻 Poodle，有人收10幾隻 Bulldog，仲有一個車度焗死咗1、2隻，幾陰功啊！
係啊，明白。
點解喺巡查嘅過程入邊已經出現咗係違規嘅經營㗎啦？你哋冇任何警告或者係起？
署方警告，署方係冇能力去 verify 呢啲 problem 出嚟，但係呢啲係發生緊嘅事情。咁個 licensing 裏邊亦都 provide 唔到呢個 prevention 嘅時候，我諗嗰個 licensing 嘅個精神就係要你冇能力做呢一樣嘢嘅，你就唔可以攞呢啲牌，而唔係你嚟你根據我要求你做呢啲嘢就攞呢個牌啦咁樣。咁呢個係個相反方向咯，係咪？
好，答翻呢個問題先嚇。你又係 call 翻頭先2010年嗰個報告啦。咁我哋亦都係正如頭先嘅答案啦。咁我哋喺之後有檢討過自己嘅措施啦。咁嚟緊嘅日子，你特別你提到好嚴重嘅一個指控，就可能會涉及利益輸送啊、收受啊呢方面。謝謝你嘅擔心，呢方面絕對。我哋 concern 多過你好多啊！呢啲係 ICAC 嘅 case， 呢啲係好嚴重嘅 case 嚟。
其實想補充 ICAC 都有嚟做過 audit， 即係 check 過我哋嘅，咁佢都就住呢一方面咧，佢都有去睇過。係啦，嗰度就絕對係冇利益輸送嘅。
呢啲絕對係我哋 concern 多過你。
結果係點啊？
佢當然佢都有俾一啲意見，我哋係關於。
佢成 assess 我哋嘅所有真係執行嘅 procedure 嗰啲嘢，唔係，佢點睇個 procedure？ 佢唔係話 case， 如果 case by case 嗰啲咧，就已經係上個報紙嘅檢控咗啦。而係佢成個 procedure， 我哋真係落去巡 pet shop 執法中間會唔會牽涉到有啲咩嘢渠道俾到個業界輸送到利益俾我哋啲員工呢方面佢哋嘅。
所以入邊係真係牽涉到利益輸送。
唔係，佢哋會睇過呢啲。
我又奇怪喎，咪先？我又奇怪喎。如果 IC 有查過 procedure， 咁頭先我哋讀嗰啲嘢咧，全部都喺中間發生嘅喎，係可以譬如話一啲就冇檢控啦，一啲就個巡查清單會唔同啦，間都唔同。咁呢啲其實都係其中你顯示到可能有啲咁嘅。
如果佢哋係佢哋有需要，佢哋會一定會要徹底嘅查啦。咁亦都係會 如果有確實嘅證據 ，ICAC 絕對唔會放過我哋啦。
其實我覺得我哋頭先提咗咁多建議，都係防止你哋將來有個第
明白，都知道你哋嘅考量嘅出發點
合作嘅伙伴。
冇錯。
雖然有時我哋個心態會比較激烈啲，即係
我唔會
比較激烈啲，但係即係就站在動物立場係去肉緊。
咪俾啲時間我哋做嘢咯，要啊。
我可唔可以問？
好。
其實今次
啊，啲你問先啦。
唔係，我問題好簡單嘅啫，就係呢個你個建議咧，而家有甲類啊、乙類啊幾種牌啦。其實 instead of 一種牌，點解你哋要諗咁多種牌出嚟？個理由喺邊度咧？
理由
係啊，即係其實我哋都好 puzzle，其實唔係想 challenge。
如果你有理由嘅，我哋可能會覺得 O K 喎。
唔聽我講，而係話而家嘅喺屋企養緊嘅嗰啲從業員，佢哋養緊嘅，即係正如上次我喺電台都有答過你哋，佢哋真係養緊嘅。咁我哋而家正喺我哋而家嘅法例裏邊咧，係管唔到佢，完全管唔到佢。我哋亦都真係知道佢係咁養緊，我哋都執唔到法，我哋都真係完全做唔到任何嘅嘢。咁我哋呢個立法嘅原意就係希望將佢納入我哋嘅監管裏邊，等佢符合到我哋嘅要求嘅條件，亦都等我將來可以有呢個權力，真係根據佢飼養嘅情形去檢控佢啊，去撤銷佢個牌啊，或者用虐待動物嘅條款去告佢。希望能夠將佢哋納入我哋嘅監管裏邊，做到呢樣嘢啊。咁 B 牌嘅亦都係而家已經有嘅，咁我哋亦都希望真係個監管，希望能夠更進一步，能夠喺由動物福利嘅出發點又好嘅，喺佢哋嘅從業員嘅操守嗰方面，即係佢哋業界嘅標準裏邊，我哋希望提高呢啲咁嘅準則。就出發點就係咁咯，亦都考量到有啲個別嘅人士，好似頭先曉陽提到話有啲純種狗嘅人咧，即係或者移民咧嗰啲人咧，特別我有一隻狗啊想賣完啊，咁又唔想送又想賣嗰啲錢，我哋都考慮埋，就有啲用即係一次性嘅單次售賣嘅。
你冇答到阿 David 嘅問題 ，David 問你，唔係 David 問你點解一定要將佢分開幾個牌啊嘛？
佢答咗啦，就係我頭先所講，佢係從人嗰度出發啊，佢唔係從動物福利嗰度出發，
從商人
冇夾定啊，唔係即係個問題就係嗱，呢個一個好例子啊 Jeffrey，
你冇理由，即係你冇答到問題。
你係覺得而家你冇佢哋扶，佢哋已經喺度啦，但係你知道佢哋好有問題嘅，做得唔好嘅，佢哋係虐待緊動物嘅。但係你都想 accommodate 到佢成為一個合法嘅。
阿 Jeffrey，你要 accommodate 佢，你都可以用一個牌 accommodate 晒佢㗎。咁點解你分開幾個牌嚟 accommodate 佢哋咧？
點解你要咁樣咧？
係因為你 facilitate 佢哋容易啲啊嘛。個答案就咁簡單。
因為佢哋兩種真係因為個 size 唔同。
咁呢咪叫 facilitate 咯？
即係你就緊，
你就住，
而係話你
即係你就緊嗰個人咯。
嗱，聽我講埋先。如果我哋真係好似阿 Mark 咁講，一個條件你得你就做啦，你唔得你就對唔住呢個管理唔到屋企，唔好意思啊，8點啦，即係講埋呢兩句啦。真係乜個大廈嘅規矩啊！你一個條件你得你就攞牌啦，唔得，我哋呢個牌唔會俾你嘅。咁於是乎變成咧，又係翻嚟。個情形咧就係exactly 就係今日嘅條件一樣，佢哋咪住喺度地下咯，地下化就好似而家咁，我繼續養我嘅狗。
係啊，地下化可以捉佢噶嘛，好似好多人非法賣手熟就走私煙咁樣，咪捉佢咯。
如果我哋捉到嘅話咯，即係我哋就係。咁
點解走私煙可以捉到非法繁殖捉唔到啊？
你覺得走私煙而家捉到晒咩？走私煙幾犀利啊！
而家係啊，
問題我哋就希望，我哋就寧願自己辛苦多啲，都唔做到呢啲嘢，係嘛？就咁啦。唔好意思啊，我仲係有少少天真嘅。
我想講
OK 好。
係啦，你而家希望嗰啲人可以納入你嗰個control啦嚇，但係我頭先咧就覺得都幾粗疏嘅。係。咁樣咧。除咗如果呢啲人可以俾你納入咗之外，固然
你可以點。但問題，我覺得你仲擴大咗有啲冇入行嘅人入埋行啊！好似頭先我哋話，我原本揸 van 仔㗎，我原本揸的士嘅，我不如咦幾好喎，我不如做 leader 啦，原來咧你生2隻狗都可以賺到幾多錢啊！會一定有呢個情況出現㗎嘛？你仲招來多啲去
劈頭啊！明白。
其實你哋好大鑊，衷心嗰啲
唔係明白。
有㗎嘛？係咪啊？
明白。我哋都有考量過、估計過個數目嘅，咁我相信真係好似你咁講話，吸引到啲人做呢個行業咧，個可能性係唔係真係唔係。因為我唔係嗱，我絕對唔會唔可能講到話冇啦，但係真係你哋自己養過下狗，你哋就知道。用養狗呢？唔係牌嘅問題，而係你想話希望透過咁樣攞到個牌去養而謀生嘅話咧，對唔住，真係
好過我打幾千蚊工啦。係啊。
真係個實況唔係。
其實你哋唔好引火自焚。
巨獸醫，你可唔可以俾我講一個例子啊？
要快啦，最後呢個問題問埋 Gloria， 聽咗你先。
嗱，巨獸醫立法咧或者修例咧，邏輯係好緊要嘅。
明白。
頭先你又話嗰啲已經存在緊嗰啲 breeder， 或者佢屋企又好，農場又好，已經存在緊。因為你哋而家有個困難咧，就好難捉到佢，因為你根本唔知佢喺邊，所以咧你咧為咗可以將來管到佢咧，你就將呢啲你而家冇辦法去揾到佢嘅嘢咧納入規管，希望將來可以管到佢。呢個你嘅邏輯。呢個邏輯係咪同我以下呢個例子一樣咧？就係話而家咧打人喺度罪嚟啊！嗱，打人咧喺街度打人咧都係好難捉嘅。我打咗阿媽，我走咗去，你冇證據。既然難捉咧，我就不如將打人呢樣嘢納入規管，希望可以將來可以捉到佢。
OK，
呢個係呢個，你除咗明白之外，你對於我呢個邏輯有咩回應咧？
呢個係一個邏輯性嘅錯誤類比，呢個兩回事嚟嘅，對唔住。OK，Gloria。
開咗好多次 public consultation， 又跟住個 timeline 做啲乜嘢啦？跟住係點樣？我哋要點樣？你仲收唔收我哋嘅 comment？
我哋好難去。
OK，Gloria， 我哋亦都係呢一次 consultation， 我哋。
其他嘢問啊，我問埋先。第二，你成個 cap amendment 嘅amendment 139B， 你哋計嗰個 budget， 你覺得政府會唔會批俾你先？你實有計數㗎？就係撳住個計數機。咁你真係要過呢樣嘢，你有冇信心會攞到個 budget 先？攞唔到 budget 講到天花龍鳳都冇啦。第三，就算過晒呢幾個牌真係得啦，過埋啦，你哋有冇個 timeline for review？ 幾耐 review？ 因為上次搞嗰壇嘢到而家咧係幾多年啊 ？Last time for the regulations 係幾時啊？for the regulations 上邊之後嗰個係咪5年啊
？2010。
你講緊嗰個
APL。
additional condition。
上次放生 OBB 就唔止。
2010啊嘛 ，additional condition 啊嘛。
嗰個139B 條係。
2010係。
嗰個好細嘅。
好啦，
對業界影響好大。
過咗呢個 OK， 俾你做到，你幾耐會 review？
OK， 明白。
你真係要定翻個 timeline，因為可能係失敗㗎。明白。可能原來你立咗啲例咧冇用。
完全明白你嘅
我哋嘅
意思啊！我解問啦啊！我哋會同嗰邊申請嘅資源去真係好似做我哋監管嘅所需嘅所有嘅資源啦，會同嗰邊申請啦。咁亦都會落嚟緊，好似頭先咁講啦，你哋而家嘅 comment 同埋之後，如果你有繼續寫入嚟啦，我哋都會咩？正如今日你所講嗰啲嘢，或者之後你覺得仲有嘢補充嘅嘢啊，你繼續寫嚟俾我哋啦啊！咁我哋會喺4月中啦會上立法會嘅。咁當然啦，立法會亦都唔係個最後個終點啦。立法會你哋Dora 咁，你哋有你哋嘅議員啦， 你哋亦都有你哋業界，佢哋肯定會開呢啲諮詢會，邀請你哋嘅代表嚟傾啦。解埋先，解埋先好唔好？最後俾你多條問題啊！4
月去
立法會，唔係開始去立法會係一個開始啊嘛，之後會傾幾耐唔知嘅喎。
好啦 Jeffy
嗰啲要睇立法會議員嘅意見喎。係啊，
大上佢就過㗎啦，
明白。
我即係老實講，嗰班友仔唔識嘅喎，你叫個醫生界嘅同你有份舉手，但係佢真醫生界可能識啊。
唔係。但呢方面Gloria 你唔使擔心，亦都要靠你哋俾意見，你哋所屬嘅議員咧，你哋所咩啊？
我哋計票數啫嘛，點會？你唔好玩啦，即係你
要信任你啲立法會議員。
我
正如我
信任嘅議員唔夠多啊嘛。
唔會嘅，你盡量鼓勵咩？
你唔好將呢個波拋俾我哋。
唔係拋俾你哋，我哋
唔係如果你
話過就過，但係個問題係真係為咗你哋跟住打落嚟嘅日子，你哋好唔好過啊？
哦，我哋
整個冚俾自己踩落去啊！
謝你哋啊！
即係唔好講我哋啦，佢哋啦，即係民間嘅 NGO，佢哋係同你攬住，即係個後果一齊受㗎。即係你有啲嘢係賴咗嘢嘅話咧，佢哋係同你收拾個後果。
即係我哋啦，同埋啲本來支持你嗰啲都一齊攬住死。
大家唔想見到啊！
我哋更加唔想見到啦。
咁咪係咯，即係所以我哋唔係針對你哋個。
我知道。
即係希望你哋群眾。
唔係由 day one
真係為咗嚟緊嘅日子，大家係將會點樣過？
明白。由第一日同你哋傾，都知道你哋嘅出發點啦。
今日講呢啲嘢會唔會俾翻阿高偉明睇？
我哋會俾嘅，我哋唔係 consultation 嘛，我哋會有個 report 俾局嗰邊嘅啊。我哋考慮啦，嗱，正如頭先 Gloria 提到好意見啦，我哋之後真係會設翻個時間俾我哋自己去 review 成個嘅即係將來嘅情形係點啊？呢樣一定嘅咯，因為始終唔可以話我哋説了算呢個，即係而家嘅政府冇理由係咁噶啦嚇。好，最後你個問題。
頭先即係呢位女士都講咧，嗰啲母狗其實即係你會唔會要佢哋 check 咗個 health OK 先俾佢 breed？因為你冇答到呢個問題。第二樣就係我好 concern 貓，你哋幾時會做？因為其實你哋之前成日都講貓唔係好多人養，但我話俾你聽，貓唔會養得少過狗嘅。
明白。
你而家見寵物店賣嘅貓咧，嗰啲數量係拍住狗咁多。
OK， 明白。
即係次次問你冇個時間表俾到我哋睇咯。
明白。呢個答咗你貓嘅問題先啦。都係好似上次我答你哋嘅問題一樣，真係我哋喺下一個階段，因為始終真係，亦都
你起碼俾個期限。
睇下呢一。
因為講貓呢個議題講咗好耐。
係啊，明白。我哋都心急，我哋亦都希望喺狗呢邊嘅情況真係做得。
因為我哋係咁心急，因為其實而家睇到就係已經係好多有問題嘅貓搣咗出嚟。
冇錯，明白。咁我哋亦都希望真係呢個階段做到成功 OK， 咁我哋就下一個階段就去到貓同埋其他噶啦。OK, Jackie, maybe you got the final question.
第一條嗰個，我一陣答翻你。
我轉頭同你傾。
Exactly how you're going to enforce all of this. I mean, on paper and with us and on here, you know, a lot of it is very good. In cow cuckoo land, as opposed to in reality, how are you going to enforce this? And can you assure any of us here that you are actually coming at this from the point of view of the animals and the animals' welfare, and not the breeders? Okay, so it's kind of two questions.
I think that was what. Sorry that you didn't understand the questions just now.
But that was what they were discussing just now as well, like coming from the point of view from animal welfare point of view. And I think for the enforcement, we're still considering, because we're trying to bid for manpower to enforce these new legislations.
This is it, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, it's money, it's manpower. If you don't have your money, you don't have the manpower, it's nothing to talk.
Right.
It's excuses, it's empty talk, it's window dressing, it's everything.
But at least if you've got the foundation right, at least if you've got the law in place and the foundation, you know, rather than, because how are you going to enforce it? It is going to be very difficult to get into people's homes, because people now, they know their rights. And when you come
come knocking on the door. No, you can't come in. You know, you have to get the paperwork from the court, by which time I've moved those dogs. Hello. So we know, as far as you set something up, people are so sneaky now. They've got it covered. You know, I mean that's the thing now with people. You know, that's why I was saying that why don't you use the vets to do the health check from the SPCA to just cut out, because we know straight away they'll be getting their friends, their backstreet vets to sign the certificates. So put things on the table that are workable. So then you don't have to have the manpower. You share it with the SPCA. They do the certificates, the health certificates. They check the animals by having them in. You can check their character as well. This dog, when I take it to the vet, big metal gloves, and all we can do with it is have his rabies vaccination, because he has to have those by law, as you know, and that's all we can get done with that dog. So at least if these breeding dogs are going there, you've got an idea of what the parents are like. Because if the parents are like that, you're going to get a puppy like that. And you're going to get it dumped, which is exactly his story. And his story you can times by thousands in Hong Kong, So, that's why I think, why we put some really good ideas. A lot of people, right from 2009, put a lot of workable ideas in to LegCo. And you would have received those as well. So why haven't you acted upon them? They're good, solid ideas. Yet nothing is in there. Absolutely nothing. It's all for the breeders. The DNA testing. I mean, those DNA testings are $500. Easy, $500. Why should the taxpayer pay that? Why not the breeders? They're the ones that want to bring all these animals into this world, which is already overpopulated as it is. You go to the shelters.
Make money from it.
They're cram-packed, I mean, so I just think, get to the source and make it so that it's workable. So that, because you don't have the manpower. And the breeders know that. Sorry.
Just a photo before we leave. This is a photo that just happened today. I captured it. This is how we show from my civil servant execute their duty in the public, in reality. And this is a housing estate. This is a public housing estate. On this far, there's two men in uniform. They are appointed by the housing authority. They're supposed to manage this area. And on the other side, there are hawker. And these are hawker right inside the housing estate area, which they are not supposed to do. And these people, they're supposed to go there, prosecute them, or warn them or stop them. What they do, they stand there. And this is all we have all the time. When we have our civil servant in the front lines office, we have no control what standard they deliver the tax-paying service to the public. And that's why setting a law in preventing the extra duty that they require the personal determination on the duty is very important. And as I am called to all of our animal NGO party and all the animal friends are saying the law is not functioning, preventing, first of all, cruelty.
It doesn't go far enough, that's the problem. It doesn't go far enough.
It's not preventing the cruelty. We have no control.
Yeah, there's no
control how those animals coming in and going out. And that's how I expected the law to function in principle before the detail. So I don't see this happening yet. So
好。
寫個 law 嗰陣時，真係寫嗰條 law 就唔係咁樣寫㗎啦。
我間啦。
咁嗰度會係之前會唔會俾
？4月中拎上立會係。
你要去揾律政處
當然
嗰邊做。
係啊，我哋會同佢哋合作。
因為我係驚個 language 嗰個問題。
哦，放心啦。
即係個 language 咧。
放心。
4月中係死線。唔
係死線，等咗立法會先至。即係個 battle 真係開始嘅時候，
即係中一定要上立法會㗎啦。
係。OK， 好 ，thank you， 多謝你嚟，你個問題蘇生會答你。